Donald Trump continues to tank the economy, defy Supreme Court orders, make deranged all-cap posts all day, lose in a reckless trade war against the world that he initiated, cover up his Secretary of Defense text messaging war plans to his wife, break the U.S. bond market, cause tourists to avoid the United States like the plague, promote a health department that's actually pro-plague, betray our alliances, crash the dollar, empower China, and capitulate to Russia and brag about Trump Gaza. Do you feel great? Say thank you. All the while, Donald Trump just goes and golfs wearing these bizarre Gulf of America hats on the taxpayer dollar. We've got a lot to discuss on the MeidasTouch Podcast. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Brett and Jordy. Want to wish everybody a happy Easter at the outset. Of course, I also want to recognize some tragic news today that Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88. So our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to, of course, the Vatican himself, everybody who's practicing, and everybody in general. You know, he did a lot to advance the cause of human rights and to stand up for people who have less means. And so it was sad news to wake up to, certainly.
Happy Easter to everybody. It's good to be here. Everybody listening here on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, everybody watching us live. Always good to be here with the MeidasTouch Network to deliver you the latest and greatest news. Well, not too great, I guess, because Donald Trump continues to crash the economy and just send the world into total chaos. And he refuses, as always, to take any responsibility for his actions, just continues to try to deflect blame to other people. But guess what, brothers? Guess what, Midas Mighty? The people are rising up, and it was incredible to see these protests over the weekend. Once again, these 50-51 protests. I want to first start off this episode by giving a huge shout out to all the organizers of these events who did such a fantastic job of bringing folks together. I saw people not only in the big cities, but all the towns across America. I saw people not only in the towns across America, but in the cities and towns across the entire world. It was truly an incredible show of solidarity, and shout out to everybody who was out there, including, by the way, the Midas Mighty. I'd be remiss if I did not shout you guys out. We saw all the MeidasTouch signs out there, which was so great to see. We'll get into some of this more a little later, but so awesome to hear about all the reports of all the MeidasTouch listeners out there on the ground. Jordy, what's the latest?
That is just the coolest. For the audio listeners, Brett was showing some protest signs, and just shout out to all the folks, man. Everyone out there on the ground, and then a special shout out to the Midas Mighty. You know, bringing the love and passion that we talk about here to the streets. Thank you guys so much. I mean, it means the world, and it's incredible. One quick housekeeping note before we get started. We're going to do something new on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel, the MeidasTouch Network this week. We're going to do a members only video. So, hey, we're always trying to figure out how to, give back to this community, especially the folks who are investing into the network and helping out so much. We know times aren't easy, and so we're super appreciative. I know we do the emojis in the chat. One of the things, though, that we're trying to up our game now to give back to the members is we're going to do a members only video, TBD on the content. It's going to come at the end of the week. Become a member right now here on the MeidasTouch Network, or you could gift memberships to folks so they could check out this exclusive video that we'll post here on YouTube later this week. And so super excited for that. Benji, where do you want to start off today?
I think before we talk about Trump tanking the economy, some context is helpful, as this account at Triple Net Investor says, people don't realize how good we had it in January 2025. The stock market was near all-time highs. The housing was near all-time highs. Inflation was at about 3% and going down to hit that Fed target of about 2%. Unemployment was at 4%. There was about a 5% return on cash, risk-free. Real GDP was growing at about 3% a year. We were leading the world in GDP growth. 16.2 million jobs created. Again, record low unemployment, 40,000 infrastructure projects going up. We were energy independent. The most oil production in the world happening in the United States. And as this account says, and I agree, what's happened over the last few months has been nothing short of unnecessary and tragic. But it was Donald Trump and Musk taking a wrecking ball to the economy. This was
worth noting too, Ben. That's a Trump supporter who posted that. That's somebody who voted for Donald Trump, who is summing up what Donald Trump did to the economy. Just want to make sure that folks know that as well.
Yeah, well, it's a great point, and it's why I even wanted to frame it that way in terms of, if you don't want to listen to what I'm saying, even though I think we're coming with the objective data, that was, to your point, Brett, a Trump supporter, or just take a look here. This guy, Spencer Akimian, he was not a Harris supporter or a Trump supporter. He was certainly not a Biden supporter, this guy. And I remember his post being like very anti-Biden, and he posts things like this. It's a summary of the Bloomberg article from today. Markets are discovering the real Trump trade is sell America. The U.S. financial dominance is being challenged, with the dollar and treasury bonds losing appeal, and the country's role as a consumer of last resort and military linchpin being questioned. Trump's tariff war and threats to fire the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell are causing investor confidence to plummet, and the U.S.'s reputation as a stable economy is being damaged. The shift away from U.S. assets could have a significant consequence, including a decline in the value of the dollar and a rise in interest rates, which could have a major impact on the global economy. And Akimian also posts, people are not appreciating what a horrendous message the bond market is sending us. Yields are 20 basis points higher than November, back when we had 3% real GDP growth. We are having a substantial growth scare with stocks down like 20% from peaks, and yet bonds have gotten zero bid whatsoever. Our credibility is shot, and you will pay for it for decades to come. And I think when you see what Donald Trump is doing, it's not just the short-term pain. He's inflicting long-term credibility damage to the United States economy, which was not being abused the way Donald Trump has this mentality of everybody was laughing at us, everybody was going after us. No, America was the richest nation in the world. We were leading the world as the place where money would go to, as the most stable economy. And like Trump's done with his businesses in the past, he's taken a wrecking ball to it. He's broken it. It's breaking the dollar, breaking the bond market, treasury yields going to levels that they should not be at all, Brett.
It's insane. And, what Trump tries to do is, what he tried to do in 2020, which he tried to take credit for, and I don't even want to call it good stuff, but the good stuff that happened during the COVID pandemic, like the fact that oil prices collapsed because nobody was leaving their homes. Trump was like, look, oil prices, they're way down right now. Look, no inflation. It's like, yeah, nobody's shopping. Everybody's locked in their homes because you allowed this virus to spread everywhere and everybody is terrified for their lives. See, Trump gave away the game a few weeks ago when he did that post on a social media platform where he said Trump is purposely trying to tank the economy. Remember that video he posted on his social media account? Trump is doing this all on purpose. It's all part of this grand plan, folks. You just don't get it. You're just not smart enough. Well, all the stuff that Donald Trump has caused is actually the opposite of what he at least claimed to intend to do in that video. You see currently the bond market imploding. You see the 10-year treasury yields soaring. You see the dollar crashing. You see inflation expectations sky high. So what does Donald Trump do? He tries to look for a scapegoat. In this case, he's trying to look for anybody he could blame. Do I blame China right now? Do I blame the Fed Chair Jerome Powell? I don't know. Let's just blame everybody because I'm not going to let them say that it's my fault. And that's the stage that we are at right now. It's the blame game. Donald Trump never takes personal responsibility for everything. He's trying to shift the blame to all these various people. Meanwhile, he has created nightmare conditions that do the exact opposite of what he was hoping to accomplish, at least his stated goals. If Donald Trump's real intent, as described in that video that I'm speaking of, was to crash things such that the Federal Reserve had to lower rates in order to jumpstart this economy, he's done the worst job at it because all those indicators with inflation on the rise, with the dollar crashing, with the yield skyrocket, all that stuff, that makes the Fed go, whoa, 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 whoa. There's a lot of instability here. And if we were to lower the rates right now, we could supercharge inflation and make this problem even worse because we can't react like that. We need to follow the facts and follow the data. And that's exactly what Donald Trump doesn't want to do. He wants to put this fake jolt into the economy. By the way, this is kind of the same thing that caused the inflation in the first place, what Trump wants to do right now again. It's just a speed run of him destroying the economy exactly like we saw in 2020, but happening now at the top of his administration. Utter chaos.
The point that you make's a great one. ProPublica did an expose on Friday about how one of the things that the Trump regime is focused on is destroying all of the data so they can replace the true facts with their fake facts and fake news, and then replace that and just have the propaganda prevail. Brett, it's the exact same playbook that Donald Trump ran during COVID, with basically the exact same players, except it's Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, instead of Dr. Fauci. But similar concept, right? Renowned expert, following facts, following science. So you attack an expert and then a foreign enemy, right? And then the foreign enemy here that they go and attack is China. And so over the weekend too, Donald Trump would make posts like, China is now interfering with the United States talks with Europe, and it's China's fault now that Donald Trump can't get these deals done. It was funny. I spoke with Jake Sullivan earlier in the day, former national security advisor under former President Biden. And in addition to speaking to him, I teach negotiations at law school, and I've been involved in negotiations, not the type that Jake Sullivan as a national security advisor was involved in with foreign leaders. But one of the things that in negotiations is you don't set arbitrary deadlines that you can't meet, because you end up trapping yourself in your own deadlines if you can't meet it. And then you lose your credibility in the negotiation when your adversary now knows that you're working under a time constraint. So because Donald Trump tries to dominate the news cycle in a specific day, but has no long-term thinking or no thinking at all, he wakes up, he rage posts, he comes up with some ludicrous claim. We're going to solve it in 5 days. We're going to do it in 90 days, 90 deals, 90 days, right? And it has this headline impact that the media loves to run with. But then you ultimately can't follow through with the plan. And when you can't follow through with the plan, the world sees, oh, wait a minute, we can play this out. He's going to get desperate. Let's just wait it out into the deadline. And then he's going to have to, push the deadline back, or he's going to have to do a deal that's not a good deal for the United States. I mean, when you're seeing the Prime Minister of Japan, Ishiba, saying, no, we're not going to do a new deal. We did a deal with you, Trump, in 2019. There was a deal with you. So we're not going to renegotiate that deal. And then Prime Minister Ishiba says that Japan has grave concerns about the U.S. overall approach to these tariffs. And he added that he won't rush to visit Washington in the coming days to strike a deal with Trump, as they feel that their dignity has been attacked. They feel that their honor has been taken away. And especially when you look at a lot of foreign cultures, and it should be in all cultures, frankly, trust in deal-making, good faith is a very important aspect. And Trump has destroyed any form of good faith. I mean, Trump couldn't cut a deal with President Sheinbaum of Mexico. I mean, the deals that were supposed to be the easy ones, Trump is struggling there. And meanwhile, you have China asserting itself in very strong ways. So for all of the things that Donald Trump was saying last week where he was lying, of course I'm speaking to China, of course I'm doing this, of course I'm doing that, China is sending the exact opposite message. And I'll just show you what China's saying so you can have a real perspective. But China firmly opposes any party, any country reaching a deal with the United States at the expense of China's interests. If this happens, China will never accept it and will resolutely take countermeasures in a reciprocal manner, because Trump's plan now is, all right, everybody, now you join us and isolate China. And the other countries you declared a trade war on us. Why would you join us? Why would we want to join you in anything at all? And China's perspective is, look, you want to cut a deal with the U.S., do it, but don't cut a deal that screws us over. If you do that, we're going after you. So Trump's created this entire mess of a situation that's not just an unforced error. It's an obvious kind of malicious move that if your plan was to wreck the United States economy, you would do this.
Absolutely. Look, Trump is an unhinged maniac. The guy's just an idiot. And I don't feel bad saying that just so bluntly, because he is. He has no idea what he's doing, nor does he care to actually try and help the American people. What he's doing right now is hurting Americans greatly. It's hurting the world, quite frankly, because when America is weaker, the world is weaker. And Trump's making us looking like the laughing stock of the entire world right now. He has no clue what he's doing. He surrounded himself by a bunch of yes men that also have no idea what they're doing. And what's that creating? Just absolute chaos, again, at the expense of the American people. Brett,
I want to remind everybody, the trade deal we currently have with Japan was cut by Donald Trump in 2019. He keeps reneging on his own trade deals. It's like the trade deal we had with Mexico and Canada that he says was done by an idiot. I agree it was. It was done by you, Donald Trump. You did that trade deal. You did the trade deal with Japan. And now you want to act like, oh, this is all unfair. We need to do something. But like, this is why none of these countries ultimately are going to trust you. One of the issues that Trump is running against in all of these all these areas is that there's nobody in the Trump administration, including Donald Trump himself, who can articulate what they actually want out of these negotiations, because they pick these fights without actually thinking through what it is they wanted. A lot of these countries, I think Japan might be one of them, like we don't have a trade deficit with, we have trade surpluses with. That defeats the entire purpose of what Donald Trump is even claiming to do. So how are you going to solve this, right? He wants some sort of ceremonial, right? He wants that Fox News headline that the other mainstream media will run with. Donald Trump cuts a deal with Japan, he cuts a deal with this country, and he can't even get a fake deal done because he can't articulate what it is that he actually wants out of these deals. If you asked everybody in this administration, what do you hope to achieve? Not all of them would give you different responses. Every single one. It was just like when Donald Trump announced this and you would speak to one person and you'd go, so is this a negotiating tactic? They'd go, no. Not a negotiating tactic. You'd speak to somebody else, they'd go, hell yeah, it's a negotiating tactic, art of the deal. And you'd be like, okay, I just spoke to 5 different people. I got 5 different answers. So what the heck is it that you want? And when you do that, you don't provide stability to the markets. It's the reason why we're seeing the markets continue to crash. I'm sure Donald Trump lashing out at the Federal Reserve chair isn't helping things either. And if Trump continues down this road and actually tries to oust Jerome Powell from the Federal Reserve, all of these stock market crashes that we have seen to this point will look like losing pennies compared to what will happen to the markets and to the global markets.
Absolutely. Sorry, I just wanted to add this. The behavior is too erratic right now. Like erratic in a way that honestly, the only conclusion, again, that I keep drawing here, and I'm not giving him an out with this, and I'm not saying this for clicks, and he's not cognitively all there. He's just not. He says one thing one day, then changes his mind. Then he's very aggressive and angry and attacks this person or that person. There's no clear and concise message here other than just like crazy, erratic behavior. And it's something that I think we all just need to continue to really look at. Look, do we honestly think the person, woman, man, chair, TV guy got better over the last 5 years or worse? And so seeing his behavior here, the only conclusion, again, that I'm drawing here is he's not well, genuinely.
Well, put yourself in the shoes of a foreign country or just someone doing business right now with the United States. You take a look, you're like, well, what's our adversary in the negotiation or partner in a negotiation doing right now? So you take a look at the official White House account, and the official White House account, they're posting memes of a United States senator, AI images with like MS-13 tattoos on the person's head and mocking Democratic senators. You see posts like this on Easter. Breaking, this is from the official White House account. Breaking, the White House is no longer a nursing home. And then it goes hashtag White House Easter egg roll. This is a video that the White House and Trump posted. They think that this video makes Trump look good. I don't even know what Trump is saying in this video. Like, Jordy, to your point, he looks not well. They're trying to mock former President Biden. Donald Trump's basically right around the same age as former President Biden. And just watch, like, they think that this is Donald Trump at his peak right here on Easter. And again, it does not look good. Here, play this clip.
You remember the bunny with Joe Biden? Remember? You remember when the bunny took Joe Biden out? He's not taking Trump out anyway.
Remember when the bunny took Joe Biden? What are they even talking about there? So put yourself again in the shoes of somebody looking at the United States right now. You see something like that. And then you see Caroline Leavitt, who's asked a question about disappearing migrants. to concentration camps in El Salvador. You're seeing a United States Supreme Court that ruled 9-0 to return Abrego Garcia, facilitate his return. You are seeing even recently in what was, I guess, a dissenting opinion in the recent Supreme Court order at 1 a.m. to block Trump from sending the next group of victims, migrant victims from Texas to the concentration camps in El Salvador. It was 7-2. But even the two, they were against Donald Trump. They just said, we trust that Donald Trump won't do it until there's further orders from the court, because the Trump regime said, don't worry, we're not going to deport these people as they were loading up the buses. The 7 other Supreme Court justices were like, you know what? We can't even take the word of the executive branch anymore when they tell us that they're not going to do something. So we have to issue an order. That's why it was 7-2 versus unanimous. The two still said that Trump shouldn't send the people to El Salvador. They just said, we don't think he's going to do it. It was Clarence Thomas and Alito. And it was like, really? You don't think they're going to do it? They're literally loading up the buses right now. They're lying to you. So then you have Caroline Leavitt, Donald Trump's chief propagandist. She's on Fox this morning. And so whereas the Trump DOJ wrote in multiple briefings that it was a mistake to send Abrego Garcia, she now goes out and says it wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. We did it on purpose. Of course we did it on purpose. He's a terrorist. Here, play this clip.
Senator Kennedy did come out and say, yeah, this guy looks like a really bad guy, but the administration made a mistake sending him to El Salvador. Do you feel that way?
We did not make a mistake. We have always maintained that this was an individual who needed to be deported from our country. The president swore to the American public he was going to deport illegal criminals, and especially those who have been involved in violent gangs like MS-13 that have terrorized American communities. And so to the Democrat Party, who thinks that they are going to bring this foreign terrorist back to the United States of America to live a peaceful and happy life, that is never going to happen.
Just think about the middle finger they're giving to the United States Supreme Court. A 9-0 opinion, bring Abrego Garcia back. A 2019 immigration judge said that Abrego Garcia has no criminal history, put a withholding order in place saying you can't send him to El Salvador. If you want to deport him to another country, you can deport him to another country, but not El Salvador. He got a work permit from the first Trump administration, a work permit. Right. So he was able to work, and he just had to show up once a year, check in with ICE, and he could work in Maryland. Right. That's what was happening. And then you see Donald Trump in office, a felon, a sexual predator, someone found liable for sexual abuse, a fraud, engage in this behavior and engage in fraud. We never made a mistake. We never did this. And now you're hearing all of the stories, Brett and Jordy, about other people, of course, American citizens who are being detained.
Yeah.
You're hearing stories about people who are backpacking in the United States who, are put in ICE detention centers, strip searched. They spend days in a detention center before they get deported back to their countries. And it's no wonder that there is what Goldman Sachs is predicting $90 billion in tourism will be affected by this. I think it's going to be more, but it's like Donald Trump has now destroyed the dollar, destroyed the bond market, destroyed tourism, prevents the United States from getting labor that it needs, destroyed our markets, and went after migrants with no criminal history. And guess what? With the whole thing here, former President Biden deported more people monthly than Donald Trump did. More people under Biden ended up getting deported. He just didn't do it like a maniac. He focused on people with criminal records, actual criminal records, and just did the hard work quietly.
Yeah, I see all these MAGA people online going wait, they accidentally make an admission that they don't want to make when they say stuff like this, but they say stuff like, but, Biden and Obama, they deported way more people than Donald Trump ever did, and the courts never came after them once, not even once. And I'm like, okay, let's try to follow this logic, okay? Perhaps it's because they deported the right people and not random people off the street because they were upset about their numbers. So they tried to fluff them by abducting people off the street and sending them to prisons. Maybe it's because they did something legally. They followed the law. They did things the right way. Perhaps that is why. And they're just much better at their jobs. And I just want to pause for 1 second, because the stuff that Caroline Leavitt, yes, it's nuts. Yes, we know it's nuts. Yes, the stuff Donald Trump says is nuts, but it's really, really nefarious stuff that they're doing here. I mean, this is a guy who was a union member, a father working in Maryland, and for them to just keep ramping up this rhetoric and go, he's a gang member, he's MS-13, he's MS-13, he's MS-13. Okay, where's the proof? Well, we don't have any proof, but he's MS-13, he's MS-13. Then all of a sudden, a couple days later, they go, oh, he's a terrorist, he's a terrorist, he's a terrorist. This is very strong language to be using about an individual. You don't just throw around that somebody's a terrorist lightly. And the fact that the government of the United States of America is doing this is absolutely appalling. If they could say it about this individual, they could say it about anybody here. And all we are saying here is just stand up for the Constitution. Whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, I don't care where you are on the aisle. This is about doing what is right by the United States Constitution. This is giving somebody their due process rights. If you truly believe that this person is who you say it is, then instead of airing it out on Fox News or on your Twitter feed or your Truth Social feed, air it out in the courtroom. Let the court of law decide on these matters. You do not have a right as president of the United States to whisk somebody off the street, send them to an El Salvadoran concentration camp to spend the rest of their lives when they have not been convicted of anything.
We have a lot to discuss on this episode. When we come back, we got to talk about the breaking news from this weekend that Pete Hegseth, involved in more classified signal communications of war plans on this other text thread that we learned about, communications with his wife, his brother, his personal lawyer, also some of the top people who work at the Department of Defense getting fired by Hegseth. Hegseth's spokesperson, a Trumper, resigns, and then Hegseth blaming the deep state and all these deep state leaks when it's actually the people who he hired, like these Trumpers who are now saying they're thinking about doing wrongful termination lawsuits against Hegseth. I mean, who would have ever thought that if you pick a Fox News Sunday host to lead the Department of Defense, someone whose background was absolutely appalling, that they would get into power and do appalling things? Who could ever predict that? We've got a lot to discuss on this episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast. I want to remind everybody, check out store.MeidasTouch.com for the best pro-democracy gear out there. We also have our Maple Midas gear. Check that out, 100% made in Canada, manufactured in Canada, distributed in Canada. Also, you can get that in the United States as well. Then we got a lot of other great gear there also. Also, check out patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We had a great chat end of last week with our Zoom member meeting. We're going to be doing more of those in the coming months. So make sure you subscribe to patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Let's take our first quick break of the show.
If you're like me and you love to travel, you know the struggle of trying to pack the perfect pair of shoes, something that's stylish, comfortable, and durable enough for all kinds of adventures. Well, let me tell you about Vessi, my ultimate travel essential. Whether I'm wandering through a new city, hiking a mountain trail, or out for a spontaneous outing, my Vessi weekend sneakers always have my back. They're waterproof, so no need to worry about those unexpected puddles or a sudden downpour. I stay dry no matter the weather. For those watching, I mean, check these out. They're dope. My Vessis quickly became my go-to shoe for nearly every scenario. I love them so much. And what I love about them is how lightweight they are. I could wear them all day and they never slow me down. They're sleek enough for a casual day out, but sturdy enough for outdoor adventures, making them the perfect versatile shoe for all kinds of travel. Plus, they're made from sustainable materials, so I feel good about my impact on the environment while I explore. Durable? Absolutely. These sneakers handle all kinds of terrains, from city streets to rocky trails. No need for multiple pairs of shoes in your bag. Vessi does it all. And with a sleek design that pairs to just about any outfit, you'll look great while you're on the move. Pack smarter and travel better with Vessi. Visit Vessi.com/Midas now for 15% off your first pair at checkout and start exploring with confidence. Say yes to spontaneous trips and rainy day adventures with Vessi. Travel smart with Vessi shoes at Vessi.com/Midas. Midas. That's VESSI.com/MEIDAS to stay comfortable and get an instant 15% off your first purchase at checkout.
This episode of the MeidasTouch Podcast is brought to you by Climate First Bank. Where you bank matters, not just for your money, but for your community, the planet, and its future. Climate First Bank is the world's first FDIC-insured, values-based digital community bank, founded to combat the climate crisis. Uses your deposits to support investments in the things that you care about: affordable housing, good schools, and clean, renewable energy. You can do better and fight the climate crisis by banking better. It's easy. Choose Climate First Bank. Visit climatefirstbank.com/Midas to learn more. That's climatefirstbank.com/MEIDAS. Member FDIC. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Click the links, use the codes, let them know we sent you. And real quick, just remember that housekeeping note that I said from earlier. I think I did an okay job describing that, but shout out to everyone that's a member of this YouTube community. Thanks for being members. We really appreciate it. And even beyond the emojis, we're going to do an exclusive video for our members only. Feel free to become a member now. It doesn't matter which tier, or gift a membership to somebody so they can check out the video. That's going to be released Friday, Saturday, so later this week. So you can check it out then. Benji, where to next?
Well, in terms of the Department of Defense, a senior official working there who's close to Hegseth describes the situation as, quote, a complete and utter meltdown taking place. So Hegseth's core team is chief of staff, senior advisor, deputy chief of staff, deputy secretary, chief of staff. They were all fired on Friday or pushed out, as Hegseth and others, I guess, were accusing them of leaking information. And these are like Hegseth's people. They deny it. I think that some of them are threatening litigation against Hegseth for the way in which they were fired. You have a spokesperson who was the top spokesperson at the Department of Defense. Again, like a friend of Hegseth, a guy by the name of John Elliott. He came out with an op-ed for Politico, basically saying that Hegseth needs to go. And that was before we learned that Hegseth was involved in having other classified communications on Signal text message threads with his wife, who doesn't work at the Department of Defense, his brother, who he got a job at the Department of Defense, but why is he having communications with them? His personal lawyer. And also, if you go back with Hegseth, his whole shtick, remember, during the confirmation hearings was he would say, you know, when it would be people who would accuse him of doing horrific things, right? You know, accusations of sexual assault, accusations of drinking on the job. I mean, some of the worst accusations out there, credible accusations. What would he say? He would go, these were all disgruntled former people. And it was like, dude, your mom wrote a letter also. And your mom said that you were like incompetent in her letter, and that, you have abusive personalities towards women and the way you treat people. Like, we read the mom's letter. Remember, then the mom went on state regime media, Fox, and she was like, I didn't really mean what I said at the time. There was just such a mountain of evidence. I mean, then the fact that this guy had never led like a military command before. He has no experience working at the Pentagon. I mean, the organizations that he led, these two, smaller nonprofits, he got pushed out because of the way he handled things. This is the guy you make the Secretary of Defense. So again, it was not a shock to learn that he was involved in more inappropriate conduct, but also the way the White House is handling it just shows you, again, the lack of competence. Foreign countries must be looking at this and going like, what the hell is going on here? There was news that broke exclusively from NPR that the White House was looking to hire another Secretary of Defense. And then the White House reposted the NPR article, seemingly agreeing with it. The Rapid Response White House account reposted that the White House has begun a process of looking for a new Secretary of Defense. Then they deleted their repost. And then they wrote wrong, fake news. Okay. Then you had their chief propagandist, Caroline Leavitt, go out and, she was just spewing. It was like a fire hose of lies today. Here, watch what she said about Hegseth. Let's play this clip.
Front page of the New York Times, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth back in the news about staffers had to be dismissed and a second signal chat that took place. Where's the president stand on this?
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland.
Okay, I want to comment on that, but let me show you what Hegseth said at the Easter egg event at the White House. And whenever Hegseth is like interviewed, it's so entirely unhinged, right? I mean, you're the Secretary of Defense. I mean, it's shocking that he is, but like conduct yourself with some like composure. I mean, every time he speaks, it reminds me of like the no offense to the Ultimate Warrior from or maybe offense, I'm not sure. Sometimes when I throw out these references to the of WWE when I grew up, WWF, like it's like a let me tell you what's happening right here, okay? I'm fighting for the fighters, and it's not true. It's not true, okay? It's just why they're smearing me. I mean, it's so unhinged. I mean, just his presentation of facts here. Just watch for yourself. I mean, you'll see that my impression was not far off. Watch Hegseth today.
This is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter.
By the way, do you see that they had the talking point almost word for word of what they were going to say? And here's the thing, Brett, Jordy, Midas, they may think that makes them look tough, but that is a sign of utter weakness from Trump and the White House, that you are saying you stand behind that conduct. Like they're not even really like, what are you denying? I mean, they're basically saying, yes, we did it, but it's also smears from disgruntled former employees who were Trumpers. You control the government. Like y'all are in charge now. These are your people in place. You fired all the other people. So this is your team, but this is the deep state going after you.
The deep state who you put into office. I mean, the whole thing is so stupid. Caroline Leavitt, every time I listen to her, I mean, it looks like even her presentation, it looks like you're watching a North Korean propagandist lady delivering news. Glorious leader stands behind Sir Pete Hegseth with the greatest strength imaginable. It's like, oh my God, you're laying it on a little thick. It's absolutely insane. The Pete Hegseth in that clip to me sounds like, like the villain at the end of the movies when they get caught and they're like, I'll show all of you. You're going to regret that. And they're like being whisked away by like the police officers. That's what Hegseth reminds me of there. He's completely unhinged. He's completely panicked. And it's just not the temperament you want from somebody who's in charge of our nuclear weapons, who's in charge of our attack plans while he spreads them on Signal and all these other Gmail, all these other various apps that they are using in the Pentagon. The Pentagon right now is in complete and utter disarray. And I'm going to bookmark all those clips that we just played here for the moment that we find out that Hegseth is out at DOD, because we're starting to see the dam break. Don Bacon, Republican congressman, is the first now to come out and say that Hegseth should step down or be fired by Donald Trump. I'm sure there will be others as well. I mean, this is serious stuff. We're dealing with issues of national security, and we have a complete maniac, a complete incompetent fool, a Fox morning show host who clearly is in over his head in this role, and it is just so dangerous to the United States, to the entire world. And Ben, you're right. This defensive mechanism that they're doing, these comments by Caroline Leavitt, the statements by the administration, it just makes them all look so incredibly weak that they're unable to even manage what's going on inside their own administration. How could you solve the world's problems if you can't even solve what's going on in your own Pentagon, in your own departments? It's just completely embarrassing from top to bottom.
Exactly. For the audio listeners, in that clip that we just played of Hegseth, one of the things that you didn't get to see is and brothers, did you guys pick up on this too? He sort of breaks the fourth wall, like he's responding to the reporter. And then for part of his answer, he turns and looks directly into the camera. Well, you know why? It's because he's speaking to an audience of one. He's defending himself now in front of Donald Trump and Donald Trump only. And so he's in full defense mode. He's flailing. He doesn't know what to do. So now he's trying to bring that Fox News, quote, news charisma that Donald Trump fell in love with and endeared him so much, and bring that so Trump sees that and says, okay, I respect this guy. He's a fighter. The guy looks like an absolute putz.
By the way, how do you call yourself a fighter when our troops die multiple occasions in different countries, in our country, and you refuse to even say a single word about them?
Exactly.
Like, don't give me this, I support our troops, I'm the guy for our troops, I want a lethal whatever military. You can't even say a word when our troops die in Lithuania. You can't even say a word when our troops die because you sent them to the border on this ridiculous scheme. It's like, give me a break. Don't give me that crap.
And in addition to the statements, Brett, it's also his actions that are putting our troops in danger by conducting all of these highly classified conversations over these signal chats that more and more keep coming out about. I mean, the guy doesn't care. He could say he cares about the troops, but all of his actions and everything that we've seen proves otherwise.
You know, because the way like a Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, I call her chief propagandist or pink dress lady, the way North Korea has this pink dress lady propagandist, the way state regime media, Fox treats these things like it's all a game, right? We're dealing with human beings' lives here, Brett. Like, to your point, 4 American soldiers died in Lithuania. Donald Trump said absolutely nothing about it, right? 2 American soldiers died when Donald Trump sent troops to the border by New Mexico and Mexico, and Donald Trump said nothing about it. Another person was critically injured. As we've seen, major weather events that have resulted in dozens and dozens of people being killed in the United States, Donald Trump has said nothing about it. What Donald Trump has done, though, is stop FEMA funding to North Carolina that needed for important kind of cleanup work that was needed, that former President Biden approved the FEMA aid. Same thing, Donald Trump stopped emergency FEMA aid to Georgia after the Trump regime, again, treated everything like a game, lied about what former President Biden's FEMA was actually doing to help people. Donald Trump shut off aid that was needed. I mean, he sent letters of denial in North Carolina and in Georgia, but he's not making statements about human lives. Even the way Donald Trump talked about the death of Pope Francis, Donald Trump's post was so weird. While world leaders were describing in kind of heartfelt ways, like authentic memories of Pope Francis and their interaction with him, Donald Trump was like making it about himself. Like, I look forward to going to Rome. Like, I look forward to being at the funeral. I mean, you look forward, you're excited to go. What? There's no attachment to the fact that at a basic level, the role of governance and the role of being a public servant is about serving the public, and that's human lives. And there's this attachment from it with the oligarchy, with these billionaires who don't give a crap if people don't have health care or Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. They don't care if people live paycheck to paycheck. They don't care about the suffering if people are unable to get health care. They don't care about the fact that housing is less affordable. It's a game to them that prices are up. Donald Trump just will make a post saying, we solved inflation. It's done. It's solved. We're good. And we resolved everything. And the only problem right now is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. He's screwing it up, but we solved it. Egg prices are down, Jose, when they're actually at record highs. You talked about it, Brett, this complete detachment from the truth. And the Trump regime, Caroline Leavitt, Trump, they'll just constantly lie about everything, but their execution of things is as bad as you get. When we get back, I want to talk, for example, about, we talked about the Hegseths. You could talk about the RFK Juniors. They're covering up E. coli outbreaks that killed people, measles outbreaks across the country, RFK Jr. saying the most horrific things about people who have autism. He's saying old people don't get autism. He's saying if you're autistic, then you can't like find love and have job. Like the most like ridiculous, horrible things in the world. Bringing anti-vaxxers on board. I mean, shock. You bring an anti-vaxxer and they start bringing on anti-vaxxers and these quacks who basically do very harmful things within the health department. So you have these kind of clowns, but then even people like Marco Rubio behaving just as bad as all the others, right? And what's there's the expression, I think it's an old Turkish expression, that when you bring a clown to the palace doesn't all of a sudden become, or the clown doesn't become royal. The palace becomes a clown show. No offense to clowns. And that's what's happening. It's infected the whole thing. These are not serious, smart people. The international community knows. It's why people are pulling their money from an economic standpoint away from the United States. It's why people aren't traveling to the United States, because they see what's going on. We're going to talk about all of that and more. I want to take our last quick break of the show. I want to remind everybody about store.MeidasTouch.com. Check it out, store.MeidasTouch.com. We've got great pro-democracy gear, including the Maple Midas gear right there. You can check that out. Also, you should check out MeidasPlus.com. That's where our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, really cooks up some great daily summaries. Check that out. We're going to take our last quick break of the show, and we got a lot more to cover.
Wait, first, let me read the proverb. I'll let the audience think on this during the commercial break because it's a great proverb. Turkish proverb. When a clown moves into a palace, he doesn't become a king. The palace becomes a circus. We'll be right back after this.
Millions of Americans grind or clench their teeth at night, and most don't even know that they're doing it. I was one of them. If you have jaw pain or headaches after a night's sleep, there's a high chance you grind or clench your teeth. Teeth grinding, also known as bruxism or TMJ, is generally caused by stress, and it can cause serious damage, such as eroding away your enamel and broken teeth, which leads to expensive dental bills. The solution to protecting your teeth is a mouth guard, but mouth guards from the dentist can cost you around $500 to $800. The good news is that there's Remy. Remy makes dental-grade professional quality mouth guards without the painful price tag. They're up to 80% cheaper of what you'd pay at the dentist and don't require you to visit a dental office. Remy's process is simple. They send you an at-home impression kit to create molds of your teeth. You send those back to Remy, and Remy's dental team will make your custom-fit guards and send them right back to you. Remy's guards are so comfortable to wear that most customers forget they're even wearing them. Plus, with a 45-night satisfaction guarantee, you can try it risk-free, sleep better, and decide if it's the perfect fit. If not, Remy's got you covered. Look, I've done the whole Remy process. It's phenomenal. Their team is incredible. The product is perfect. Definitely check it out if you fit this category. Remy is for anyone dealing with nighttime grinding, clenching, or jaw pain who wants an affordable solution to protect their smile and say goodnight to jaw pain and headaches. Head to shopremy.com/Midas and use code Midas to save up to 50%. That's 50% off at shopremi.com/Midas with code Midas. Give your teeth a break without breaking the bank with Remy. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode.
Think sunscreen's just for summer? Well, think again. UV rays are sneaky and they're not the only problem. Pollution and even blue light from your screens can silently speed up aging at the cellular level. That's why I use OneSkin's broad spectrum SPFs for face and body every single day. OneSkin is the only skin longevity company proven to reverse cellular aging. Their SPFs block UV rays with non-nano zinc oxide and neutralize free radicals from pollution and blue light with a powerful blend of antioxidants. And the secret sauce? Their OS1 peptide, the first ingredient to target a root cause of skin aging, cellular senescence. I've been using the OS1 Face SPF daily and the Body SPF on my arms and shoulders, and I've noticed my skin feeling smoother and more hydrated. I expected protection, but the added glow and softness were a huge bonus. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like it's its younger self. Get 15% off with code Midas at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code Midas, MEIDAS. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in your skin's future with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Use the links, use the codes. If there's an exit survey, let them know we sent you. That's also very helpful. And I'm only doing it again just because it's brand new, never before done on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel. Just reminding everybody, we're doing exclusive members only video later on this week. Become a member right now. It's in the chat. You just hit that little $sign thingy and you could become a member yourself, any tier, or you could gift the membership to somebody. And that video is going to be made exclusive for the MeidasTouch YouTube.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's going to be on YouTube specific. This is a YouTube
Correct.
Specific thing, and it'll basically just be the same way you get all the videos that you get all day. There'll be some extra ones occasionally for you guys to watch that only you'll be able to see. So,
Benji, where to next?
Harvard University just filed a federal lawsuit against the Trump regime in the federal district court in Massachusetts. This after the Trump regime admitted on Friday that its letter to Harvard, where the Trump regime said that it wanted to take over the admissions process, the hiring process, to eliminate all diversity at Harvard, to, among other things, audit the political views of students and faculty at Harvard to make sure it conforms with how the Trump regime wants people at Harvard to think. That was literally in the letter sent by the Trump regime to Harvard. Harvard responded and said, no, we're not doing this. Harvard was represented by and is being represented by some very prominent Republican lawyers, including one who worked in the Trump administration. But the Trump regime said that that letter was a mistake. But they still blamed Harvard for responding to it the way they did. And the Trump regime said, we didn't mean to send this letter, but Harvard, you should have realized that this letter was a draft and that it wasn't the final letter that we were going to send. So you now embarrassed us by publishing the letter that you received and then publishing your letter back to us. So now we're going to have to retaliate against you because you made us look bad by your response to the letter that we mistakenly sent you. So the Trump regime began end of last week saying we're going to take away $2.2 billion in federal funds. Then they upped the ante over the weekend saying that there's another $1 billion in funds. And again, mind you, the Trump regime had said that this letter was a mistake, like it wasn't supposed to go out. But they're pissed that Harvard didn't recognize that it was a mistake. So Harvard had enough. They filed the lawsuit. The president of Harvard University, Alan Garber, announced the lawsuit and basically said, moments ago, we filed a lawsuit to halt the funding freeze because it's unlawful and beyond the government's authority. And it goes on to say the government has cited the university's response to anti-Semitism as a justification for its unlawful action. As a Jew and an American, I know very well there are valid concerns about rising anti-Semitism. To address it effectively, we've dealt with that before. And then they go on to say, or we've been dealing with it. And it goes on to say the consequences of the government's overreach will be severe and long-lasting. Research that the government has put in jeopardy includes efforts to improve the prospects of children who survive cancer, to understand at the molecular level how cancer spreads throughout the body, to predict the spread of infectious disease outbreaks, and to ease the pain of soldiers wounded on the battlefield. And it goes on and on and on from there. We'll be doing a full breakdown of that lawsuit. But I just want to get this straight, Brett and Jordy and Midas Mighty. So the Trump regime says sending that Harvard letter was a mistake, but now they have to go after Harvard because Harvard responded to the letter that was a mistake. The reciprocal tariff formula was a made-up, erroneous formula. The Trump regime fired researchers working on Ebola. They fired people who work with nuclear weapons. They said that was a mistake. They are involved in classified communications on signal chats, inviting reporters onto these chats. They say that was a mistake. The Trump DOJ admitted that sending Abrego to Garcia to El Salvador was a mistake, although now they're saying that's not a mistake and it was on purpose. Again, it is gross incompetence, or you can say willfully malicious at this point, but it is this raw incompetence that pervades this Trump regime. Mistakes are made is an expression that my wife uses. Sometimes they happen, but mostly mistakes are made. There's a reason why Trump has bankrupted all of his businesses, or I should say many of his businesses, not quite all of them, but many of his businesses in the past. It is because he makes these exact same moves over and over again, and he doubles and triples down on the errors. He covers them up. Mistakes become catastrophes. Catastrophes become bankruptcies. And you see, that's how he's handling everything right now, just a complete and utter disaster. I mean, you just take something even like Donald Trump promising peace in Ukraine in 24 hours, right? That was the Trump promise. We will bring peace to Ukraine in 24 hours. I guarantee you it will be very easy to do. Now, what are they saying? At the end of last week, the negotiations are too tough for them. They're tired of the negotiations. The parties aren't coming to an agreement quick enough. We tried. It's not our fault anymore. We didn't do it. Blame it on Biden. Blame it on Zelensky. They don't blame it on Putin, who actually did the unlawful invasion. We made this clip showing what Trump promised and what Marco Rubio and Trump are now saying. And again, they set some fake deadline for themselves. We're going to do it in 24 hours. It doesn't happen. Then they make more fake deadlines. It doesn't happen. And Putin looks at it and Putin's like, all right, these people are not for real. And then the rest of the world looks at it and says, oh, got it. These people are pathetic. And so Europe forms its own alliances with Ukraine and Australia and Canada. And America now just finds itself isolated economically, isolated geopolitically when it comes to our alliances for foreign protection. Here, just watch this clip that we put together.
End the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I
How
do.
would you do that?
I know Zelensky very well.
I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long.
No one's saying it's going to be done in 12 hours, but we want to see how far apart it is and whether those differences can even be narrowed. So we came here yesterday to sort of begin to talk about more specific outlines of what it might take to end the war, to try to figure out very soon, and I'm talking about a matter of days, not a matter of weeks, whether or not this is the war that can be ended.
If for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass.
That's the negotiation strategy. We're going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're a fool, and we're going to take a pass. Then even Marco Rubio, he's like, no one said it's going to be done in 12 hours, but we're going to do it in a few days. Like, again, why are you continuing to create a made-up deadline for yourself? Do you see how they keep on doing that over and over again? And Jake Sullivan said it to me perfectly. Go watch that full interview. He said, because their whole thing is winning the news cycle in a day versus actually, they just wake up. How could they hog attention in the day versus actually come up with a coherent strategy, because they're so used to the disinformation when former President Biden was leading, and it was like, okay, let's just watch it and then just flood the zone with lie. But they can't plan ahead. Guys, even with stories like this, it's telling. The story about Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's bag, including $3,000 in cash, was stolen from a DC restaurant. Like, how does that even happen? You're the Homeland Security Secretary, which means you obviously have Secret Service and people who are there with you. Why do you have $3,000 in cash in your pocketbook at a DC restaurant? That doesn't sound like a great deal of competence right there that's happening, but it's just every day with these people. It is a unmitigated clown show. And then, not to mention, you have Trump. He was at his Virginia golf club. Like, he lies to the press and pretended that he was at like Easter services, and like intentionally left like his schedule vague while he had like his faith team go out and say, Donald Trump's like, you're doing all these services. Total BS. Trump was golfing all day, wearing this weird Gulf of America hat, and then just posting the weirdest messages in the world. Just post after post after post. And I don't even want to read all of these things, but it's just these incredibly deranged posts. Like, Like this one goes, since our announcement of Liberation Day, many world leaders and business executives have come to me asking for relief from tariffs. It's good to see that the world knows we are serious, because we are. I mean, what serious person goes and posts, "We are serious"? And they go, they must right the wrongs of decades of abuse, but it won't be easy for them. Like, what, you're doing a scavenger hunt? I'm going to put you through a challenge because we're serious people. And I'm writing, we're serious people. Then he posts, like in all caps, the businessmen who criticize tariffs are bad at business, but really bad at politics. They don't understand or realize that I am the greatest friend that American capitalism has ever had. Then happy Easter to all, including radical left lunatics fighting and scheming to bring home murderers. Then he calls this morning, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. He calls him a major loser. What president calls the chairman of the Federal Reserve a major loser and just mocks him and bullies him and harasses him? It's just not normal behavior. It reflects someone who is erratic, unstable, not serious. And the world sees that. The markets see that. Our adversaries see that. Our allies see that. But the people are rising up.
Yeah, I'll also add, it also shows that he's weak and utterly incompetent at everything that he's doing. He can't get anything done. So his only move is the same move that he always goes to, which is just to lash out at other people. And so you see him and Rubio doing that with the Ukraine situation. You see them doing that in all facets. It's just attack, rather than just take a moment and actually take a little bit of responsibility for your actions. I think that really shows weakness, this inability to admit you're wrong, this inability to say, yeah, like there shouldn't even be this protracted fight right now to get Kilmar Abrego Garcia back from El Salvador. The second that they admitted we sent this guy over there due to an administrative error, he should have been on the next flight home. All of these people who they're sending there, because there are many other people who are there who have done nothing wrong, who have not had their day in court. I'd say most of the people there, in addition to Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whose names are being forgotten right now because of the attention. There's not enough attention to go around sometimes. All those people should be back home. This shouldn't be a fight. When you admit that you have made these mistakes, correct the mistake or say, we screwed up. Hegseth screwed up. Here's how we're going to take care of it. That's what actual leaders do, not whatever the hell we're seeing right here. And the world leaders right now, they're just mocking Donald Trump. They just know that they could go to anybody else and cut these deals and just isolate the United States from everything, because the United States has isolated themselves from the rest of the world. It's like the worst negotiating position imaginable. As Ron Filipkowski, our editor-in-chief, continues to tally, it's now been 10 days since Peter Navarro went on Fox Business and said, we're going to get 90 deals done in 90 days. We're going to get a deal done per day. You'll see after 90 days, 90 deals are going to happen. It's been 10 days since Navarro said that. 0 trade deals have been executed at the time that we are live on this episode. Just complete, utter incompetence and failure. But like Ben said, the people are rising up. I want to give another shout out to all the people who are out there at the 5051 events. These protests were absolutely incredible this week. And I got to say, pretty big crowds considering the fact that there were protests a couple weeks ago, but people just continue to show up in numbers. I saw people in the big cities. I saw people in the small towns. I saw people in Munich, Germany. I saw people all over the world out there protesting Donald Trump, protesting Elon Musk. Side note, did the Wisconsin Supreme Court race just completely break Elon Musk or what? The guy's kind of disappeared ever since then. And I'm thinking of Trump's comment too, where he says the people who are against tariffs are bad at business. Well, why don't you look at some of the people in your own administration, like Elon Musk, who is against the tariffs? Are you calling Elon Musk bad at business? Maybe you want to have that conversation with him as well. But these protests out there, seeing the people on the streets, it really inspires hope. And I want to thank everybody for being there, all the creativity of your signs. Ron Filipkowski on MeidasPlus.com. He did a great job cataloging some of the best signs that were spotted at many of these events from across the world. You should check it out. Like I said earlier, we also saw so many people from MeidasTouch out there, supporters, listeners, people who were out there representing, which was super cool to see. I'll show you some of those posts if you see yourself super cool. If you don't, tag us next time and we'll try to get you. But here's some of them. We see this incredible poster that says, shout out to the Midas Mighty. Jordy, your picture's on the, it's, you never know what you're going to get when your picture's on a protest sign, but I think this is the best case scenario.
Absolutely best case scenario. That is so freaking cool. Like the coolest.
We see Truth Over Lies go to MeidasTouch Network. Absolutely love that. I see MeidasTouch sent me. I see this one also, another one that says MeidasTouch sent me on the sign. Very, very cool. Somebody with the MTN logo. Another sign that says follow MeidasTouch Network. Another one that has images of Legal AF, of MTN, of our Make Lying Wrong Again design. I loved this design that we saw that somebody made. It's a picture of a little thing of toothpaste, and it says MeidasTouch Network. Brush away the lies, stop truth decay. Absolutely epic stuff. And we've been saying now for a while here that we are building up right now to a democracy summer. Now, I think it came even earlier than anybody expected. Now we are in a democracy spring, but the democracy summer, the people are going to continue to rise up. They're going to continue to combat this authoritarianism. And as the people get stronger, you see this inverse relationship right now. The people are getting more confident. The people are getting their power back. You even see a lot of the politicians now figuring out how we fight this regime. And you see the Trump administration in complete and utter collapse. They are flailing right now. They look like fools. They look incompetent. They are losing faith of even many of their ardent supporters out there. They've certainly lost faith of the business community, of the finance folks, of many of the small businesses who they are completely screwing over right now. So keep up the pressure, folks. It is working. I'm proud that you are in this fight, that you are putting in this effort, because it is so important right now to stay engaged. Jordy.
Absolutely. The energy is palpable. It's truly inspiring. And folks are motivated. I can't say it any better than you just did, Brett. So I just want to say thank y'all for just meeting the moment every single day. It's awesome to see.
I want to remind everybody, we've got store.meidastouch.com. Get that pro-democracy gear. For those in Canada and in the United States, we got the Maple Midas gear. The Maple Midas gear, of course, is 100% made in Canada, manufactured in Canada, distributed in Canada. You can still get it in the United States. There's a bunch of other great MeidasTouch gear like you saw at the protest as well at store.meidastouch.com. Check out MeidasPlus.com and Patreon.com/MeidasTouch as well. We got some great content there. And I just want to thank everybody as well for, staying in this fight. As Brett says, the resistance is growing. The opposition is growing stronger. Trump is looking weaker by the day. And that's a testament to everybody here committing that we're in this together. And it's so great to see the Midas Mighty community thriving. Of course, everybody in Canada knew about the early voting period taking place. Those snap elections conclude on April 28th right there. So I think there's been record turnout so far in Canada when it comes to the early voting. And of course, we've been covering all of the Canadian news here on the MeidasTouch Network on a daily basis as well. So to all the Maple Midas out there, elbows up, and thanks for your support, and to the entire international pro-democracy community. It's an honor that you've entrusted us with the news in your countries as well. Thank you. Jordy, take it away.
Shout out to the Midas Mighty.
The Midas Mighty standing strong against the fascists. We sing our song. We will get it right whenever.
Can't get enough Midas? Check out the Midas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.